Welcome back to Agri-innovate. In the last episode, we explored the hatchery at Mr. Ikuluga's farm. Today, we'll continue the story by looking at what happens next, rearing the fingerlings into healthy, full-grown catfish. We'll learn about the feeding, care, techniques, and all that makes this possible. So whether you're into aquaculture or just curious about how it's done, this is going to be an exciting episode. Let's dive in.
The show that brings a vibrant world of agriculture straight to your screen. From the latest in sustainable techniques to family-run farms that have stood the test of time, and where every harvest tells a story. Join us as we bring you the untold stories of the hardworking farmers and agripreneurs who feed Bayelsans. Ready to see where your food really comes from? Agri-innovate. We are here again at Ikuluga's farm for the continuation of our previous episode where we're talking about hatching. On today's episode, of course, we're looking at growing these fingerlings to table-sized fish for our consumption and for sale. And of course, Mr. Ikulugan, who is our tour and also our guest. We're always happy to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, please, sir, I would like you to share us your experience so far in the aquaculture business.
Yes, aquaculture is really a business. And when we talk about agriculture, aquaculture, there is a lot of things to do in agriculture, and there is a lot of things to do in aquaculture. The difference between agriculture and aquaculture is agriculture contains aquaculture. And aquaculture is a sub-component of agriculture. Agriculture covers them all, both in production of animals, production of crops, production of trees, production of anything is agriculture. But aquaculture concerns with the production of those water animals, animals that live their life in water, animals that grow in water, animals that water is only water that can support their growth.
Aquatic animals.
So aquatic animals, they are under what? Aquaculture. So to look at fish, really, we, the Nigerian, especially the Bayelsans, are supposed to export fish to the other worlds. We have a lot of water, we have rivers, we have all kinds of fish, but we have not ventured into research on aquaculture. So our research base is less. We just see every food and we eat and we relax. We see food, we eat and we relax. If not, we are supposed, I know as a fish producer that there are type of fish in our waters that you can rear them in 2 months, you can rear them in 3 months, and sell them about 2,000, about 3,000 for one. But have we been able to go and look at it and bring them out and say, this one fish, this is the feed for it, and you will give it like this, you will give it like this, you will do like this, in 2 months time, this is how much you will spend, this is how much you are going to sell. I'm really talking about the fingerlings for sales, then the fingerlings for eating, that's table size. That's where I'm going. The types of fish we have: Petrobranchus, Clarias garipinus, and hybrid. The hybrid is an agric product. What do I mean by that? Aquaculturists feel that supposing we carry the egg of Petrobranchus and the sperm of Clarias garipinus, or supposing we carry the egg of Clarias garipinus and then the sperm of
Hetero.
Heterobranchus and mix them, what are we going to get?
Give you
And
a
lo
hybrid.
and behold,
Okay.
we got a hybrid. We got hybrid. So sometimes some people say agric, I need the agric product.
They are
I need the
referring
agric
to
product.
the hybrid.
They are referring to the hybrid.
Okay.
The high there means two. Breed means that to culture. So two cultures.
Okay.
The hybrid does not have any native name. The hybrid does not have any native name because nobody has seen where the Heterobranchus in the bush slept with the Clarias gariepinus in the bush. Nobody has seen. And so the hybrid has no native name. It's hybrid. So, but the Clarias, the job people call it a mono. The Clarias gariepinus, the job people call it a mono. The Heterobranchus, the job people call it Torie. So we have Torie and a mono.
Okay.
So there's no native name for hybrid.
Just
There is a
that of
native name for
Clarias.
Heterobranchus Torie. And there's a native name for Clarias
Clarias.
gariepinus
a
mono. So,
All
now,
right.
having grown the hatchlings, you need to nurture them and feed them and culture them and look at them well. If you don't look at them, they will die because their structure, their internal structure is not well developed to withstand complications. To withstand complication. Their internal structure is not well developed to withstand complication like bacteria and fungi diseases. So you need to culture them well. Like as we've said before, you need to look at their pH, you need to look at this, you need to look at that, you need to look at this, you need to look at that to culture them well. So after 2 months and 1 week, you are on what we call the post fingerlings to juveniles. Either you call if the growth is accelerated, you call them juveniles. But if the post or your feeding is not as effective as, you call them what? Post. So after 2 to 3 months, you are having juveniles. So from the fries, from the hatchlings you get fries. From fries you get post fries. From post fries you get fingerlings. From fingerlings you get post. From post you get juveniles. From post you get juveniles. Now when they are juveniles, you can a bit handle them roughly. They can withstand, they are a little bit to withstand. If you give them drugs, the drugs will work on their body. They have intestine, they have structures, they have internal bodies that can take care of drugs, that will adhere to drugs application, the juvenile. Of course, from the juveniles, the complication of ill health in the fish is reduced, very much reduced. They can withstand complications.
So they don't die easily.
They don't die easily. And then you start to feed them with the 2 mm, the 0 point, the hatchlings of 0 point, the post of 1 point. You are away from the expensive food. You are now going to carbohydrate-like food. Carbohydrate-like food. So you now feed them with 2 mm. My recommendation on the feeding is that feed them with 2 mm until 2 months. This is my own recommendation. It's not what is on the books. It's not what is on the book. It's what I found out in my experience of working with fish. Feed them with 2 mm until it is 2 months to when you want to harvest for market. Feed them with 2 mm until it is 2 months to when you want to harvest them for market, when you want to harvest them for table size, when you want to harvest them. Some people will rear Clarias gariepinus for 4 months. Some people rear it for 5 months. Some people rear it for 6 months.
So that's from
The-
juvenile
Yes,
to
to table
table
size, to adult
okay.
or table size. Okay, so now if you want to harvest your fish, the period of harvesting one fish is on the owner's discretion. What do I mean by that? You can harvest your fish for 3 months. You can harvest your fish for 4 months. You can harvest your fish for 5 months, for 6 months. As you look at the fish and show your mind desire, or maybe financial constraint. Maybe when you have financial constraint, you can harvest your fish according to financial constraint, which means even if it is 2 months, you can find a buyer and they will buy it from you. Even if it is 3 months, you can find a buyer and they will buy it
But
from you.
would that be profitable?
When we talk about profitability, we'll come to that. We are talking about when you have a constraint, a financial constraint, you can harvest your fish at any time. Or when you have the desire that, oh, this fish is okay, you can harvest your fish in 1 year time. I want to keep it to 1 year, let it be growing, because the growing is ongoing. What do I mean by that? The growing is continuous. As you feed it, that's how the fish is becoming big. And the more bigger it is, the price per kilo changes. If it is pin, what the German call it penny. What the German call it penny, that is the pin size. The kg price is less. But if it is those like 2 kg to 3 kg to 4 kg to 5 kg to 6 kg, the price changes. Because you must have spent a lot of money for it to hide. So that's how everything is. They watch what you spend and then give you the price.
Okay.
So you feed them with 2 mm until you want to sell them. That's my advice. Because 2 mm is the transition food from juveniles to what? Adult. And it keeps transiting them faster than any of the mm. So in the feeds formulation, we have zeros. We have talked about 0 point, 0 point, and 1 point, 1.8, and then 2 mm. 2 mm is juveniles. Even post some of the posts we take 2 mm. So from juvenile, keep giving them 2 mm.
So what do you now give to them? That's prior to when you want to sell.
You give them 6 mm. 6 mm. In the formulation of the feed, we have talked about the 0 point and 1 point. We have 2 points. We have 3 points. We have 2 mm. We have 3 mm. We have 4 mm. We have 6 mm. We have 9 mm. 9 mm is carbohydrate for it to get weight. So when you're about to sell, 2 months to when you're about to sell, if you are producing fish for commercial purpose, 2 months to when you're about to sell, bombard them with 9 mm or 6 mm.
Okay. So that gives them that
weight,
because
the fish will be sold per kg, per weight. So give them the weight for 1 month and then call the marketers to come and process your fish. So at that point, you are through. Like I told you, Clarias Garipenus, the paperwork period of harvesting is 6 months. The paperwork from research, the paperwork when to harvest Clarias 6 months. When to harvest hybrid is 7 months. When to harvest Cetubrancus is 1 year and 2 months, 1 year and 3 months, to 1 year and to 6 months.
Wow.
So you are a commercial farmer. You now rear these 3 types of fish and then know the one that you wish to continue with. Which one is profitable? And I bet you, if you go to the market, you will see Clarias Garipenus all over, because the rate of turnover in
Is
Clarias
higher.
veripinus is what? Higher. Clarias can be harvested 4 times in a year. That's 3 months. That's 3 months. 3 months. Or 3 times in a year. That is 4 months. Or 2 times in a year. That is 6 months. So no matter how much, you may sell your heterobranchus. You can sell it for 25,000
For one.
for one. You can sell it for 30,000. You can sell it for 50,000 for one. But how much food have you put in for the heterobranchus to come up to 50,000? That's where commercial farmers rely on Clarias garipinus, because the cost effective in Clarias garipinus is smaller compared to heterobranchus. So the hybrid is in between because it takes the characteristics of both and is well adapted. If you want me to recommend a fish that the farmers should farm, I will open my mouth and mention hybrid. If you want me to recommend the fish for a new farmer who have not researched on the type of catfish is going to farm, I will say hybrid.
Because it's easier.
by 6 months, if you compare the weight of the highest fish of Clarias garipinus and the highest fish of hybrid, you find out that hybrid weigh far much better than Clarias of the same period. Of the same period. So that's why I'm recommending hybrid. And also, hybrid is much more adapted in the sense that if it comes to the condition of adaptation of heterobranchus, Clarias has some, hybrid has some. If you come to the condition of adaptation of Clarias garipinus, hybrid has some. So it's well adapted. So it grows even in harsher conditions
As compared to
Clarias garipinus or heterobranchus. So if you want me to recommend, I will recommend hybrid.
Now, aside the feeding, are there other factors that contribute to the success?
Yes, there are other factors like the cleanness of the water, the cleanness of the water, the fertilization of the water. The cleanness of the water comes in the form of addition of oxygen. In short, there is a machine that we have. It's called aerial machine. Its duty is to bombard, like as you're hearing, those bubbles you see as the water drops, they are bubbles of what? Oxygen. Those bubbles you see. So based on that, the Chinese people adapt it and produce a vibrating machine such that there's a stone you put inside the machine, the water, and then you on it with light. If you can go, I can show you the vibrating machine. It vibrates and brings out the bubble. That is adding more oxygen to the water. So aside from the feeding, the water must be clean. So what happens if you overfeed the fish? There is what we call less feeding of the fish. There's what we call optimum feeding of the fish. And there's what we call overfeeding. What's the consequence of feeding less? Your fish will not weigh as you forecast, as predicted, as supposed to weigh. So what happened to the price?
It drops.
It drops. When you underfeed, what happened to the weight? It drops. What if you overfeed? What happened? There's a lot of implication on overfeeding. let's talk about the overfeeding. If you overfeeding, the fish always eat to its
Satisfaction.
maximum, to eat maximum to satisfy itself. It does not eat over. The way you look at fish, you don't see the food again. You think that any amount of food you put, the fish will consume it all. No, it will eat only to maximize its stomach. The rest will be left over, and they will continue to absorb water as they are left over. They will sink.
Okay.
Overfeeding is what I'm talking. If you overfeed them, what happens? The fish will eat the maximum it can eat and then leave the remaining as leftover. What happens? They will absorb water and sink. If the process happens for 1 week to 2 weeks, in an earth pond, I'm talking about earth pond, if the process happens from 1 week to 2 weeks, what happens? Fermentation will take place. The process called fermentation will take place. And what does it do? The fish are rotting. They are rotting. That is what we call fermentation. And that rotting process takes in oxygen more than what is coming, the oxygen that is coming in. That fermentation process takes in oxygen faster than the way oxygen is introduced to the water. So if that happens, if that fermentation happen for 1 week to 2 weeks, what happens? The fish will be coming to the air to trap the oxygen in the air because the oxygen in the water is used up. Okay. It's depleted.
So that's why we see sometimes the fish come
will
and
stand and raise its head.
Because it's actually looking for
oxygen in the air.
So that's.
But its tentacles are not made perfectly to trap oxygen in the air and use it in the whole system. So what happened? After 2 weeks, the fish will weak. Okay. They will stand erect and weak. If you're going and you do your leg, they will not go in.
They will respond.
That means that a lot of fermentation is taking place under the water. Okay. And the dissolved oxygen inside the water have been used up. That process has taken all the dissolved oxygen.
So if it's a concrete pond, you can now easily change your
water and introduce a new water that has oxygen. Okay. That's a solution. We are going to go into the solutions. Okay. So what happens? If it stays like that for 2 weeks, it will weak and die. So what is overfeeding causing? Overfeeding is causing the fish to die.
Because of lack of
oxygen. Okay. What is making the oxygen depletion is fermentation. And what is fermentation? The rotting of the food articles, the excess food. So that is why we don't recommend overfeeding.
So now how do you monitor?
I'm coming.
All right.
We don't recommend overfeeding.
Okay.
Pre-feeding, we don't recommend. Also, optimal feeding. Let's talk about optimal feeding. Optimal feeding is a situation where you are giving the fish the right food for it to eat belly-wise, the right food for it to eat belly-full, the right food for it to maintain its health. Optimal feeding. So, we have three: underfeeding, overfeeding, and optimal feeding. We have talked about the implication of underfeeding. We have talked about the implication of overfeeding. Let's talk about the implication of optimal feeding. Optimal feeding will boost the growth of your fish. The growth, yo, my fish is big, my fish is like this, is optimal feeding. So, how do you know you are feeding? That's the question you were asking before. Yes. How do you know you are feeding your fish optimally? Exactly. So that to get optimal harvest. Yes, the rate of success for fish production differs. You will harvest your fish and you say you spend 10,000, but you sold 100,000. I may harvest my fish. I spent 20,000, but I sold 500,000. You see, there is rate of success in these two situations. Or if we have so many farms, there is rate of success. Every farmer will say, hey, I made money, oh, I made money, hey yo, I made money. But what is the rate of success? Is it the same? I made profit too. When I invested my feed, I showed 6,000 at the end of the day. This is what I get. But what is the rate of your success? Is it 20%? Is it 50%? Is it 10%? Is it 5%? Is it 88%? Is it 99%? What is the rate of your success? So we are looking for the 99%, which is optimal feeding.
So it's possible to get 99%.
It's possible now. It's possible. Even 120%. It's possible to get more than times 2, times 3 of what you spend in. Yes, it's possible. Especially when you don't overstock and you feed them optimally. Let's look at how you achieve optimal feeding. Okay. I'm a farmer with experience. And some statisticians will come and say, if you buy 1,000 fish, buy 33 bags of feed, will be okay. No. They are just talking like experts. They are just talking like bookmakers. But how do you feed your fish to know the number of bags that you will use for so number of fish and what is optimal feeding? Now, if you go, listen very well, listen viewer very well. If you go, you dip your hand, or you have a measurement cup, a small cup, you dip it into the feed and then you give to the fish. You wait for 5 minutes. Let them finish eating that first dip. You dip the second time, making it sure that this second time is lesser than the first time. You throw to your fish. You wait for 5 minutes. You observe what happened. You dip again, lesser one. You throw. You wait for a time will come where you will see 15 to 16 grains floating